Welcome to Remember the Ages. Today we're going to be looking at Scylla, the Eternal Temple fight. Here are my units that I'm going to be using for today's match against Scylla. I have Elwyn here. Elwyn is not going to be bringing his defense break. It's not good to apply too many debuffs. He's got Sun Slash to keep him healthy. Here we have Chris. Chris is going to bring her normal setup. I switched to her Zealot because she's going to get a buff, more buffs because of the faction buff. Liana, basic kit, bring the Shrine Maidens. Sherry, same thing, basic kit. And then we have Hein here. Hein here, I went and switched over his cleanse over to teleport. But unfortunately, I did not use teleport properly. You'll see here in a moment. But Hein is my main DPS, especially for magic damage. So turn 1 is actually extremely important. Okay. When it comes to turn 1, you want to make sure that you stay out of Scylla's range. She has an AoE move, and the difficulty of it is that it'll trigger off of the ad that she gets. So you want to make sure that you're staying out of position. So I'm moving all my units just to get them in place. I'm going to move Elwyn last so that everybody has the buff at the end of their turn before Elwyn buffs. Just a little bit of strategic moving. So everybody's getting in place. I should have moved Hein with teleport a little bit farther. You'll see here in the next turn. So on this enemy turn, Scylla then goes for Oceanic Horror, which actually does a lot of damage. Usually, I've only seen it attack Elwyn, unless Elwyn goes down, and then who knows, all bets are off. So as you can see here, I'm trying to move Hein into position and checking to see if maybe, no. So that was my error. I should have moved Hein one more spot closer to get the attack on this turn, but as you'll see, this doesn't defeat the run.
What?
So from here, I'm deciding who to use. Lightning Speed, definitely use that on the boss. Always use it whenever you got the chance. Gale is a great proc, and then you can just double up on that. Anything other than Lightning Speed on Scylla, do not use. Don't use Lightning. That's going to be used specifically for the add-ons. So I move Hein here, and what I'm going to have to do is Liana's going to have to move him again. Now, I was thinking about having Elwyn go in, but he's a little low on health, and I don't want to take the risk. So what I do is I go ahead and again Hein, give him another turn, and then I get a little buff, a healing buff on everybody. It's not a buff, it's just a healing proc. So everybody gets a little bit of healing. Hein goes in for the attack, and since he is going to be my main damage dealer, he's going to be doing quite a bit of damage in this fight. So actually keeping Hein healthy and strong is key, but normally he does not get attacked much besides the boss. With Elwyn a little bit more healthy, he comes in and he goes off and does what he does best. Hits the enemy, heals back a portion, keeps himself nice and fresh, super fresh and clean, because we don't want Elwyn taking too much damage because he's going to be our main. He's essentially the tank, but he's not really a tank.
Would you like one more shot?
So then we have Chris come in afterwards, and she does Discipline to kind of heal herself and heal another ally. Typically Hein, because Hein takes a lot of damage in these fights, but we just got to make sure, keep him healthy just in case. Here comes the ad. If we moved in closer, the ad would have actually done the AoE right off of the other AoE that Scylla would have done, so we got to make sure that we don't go in too fast. So here I'm checking the stats. You want to make sure you check the stats to see if this is magic defense or defense stronger. So one is stronger than the other variant, and they block for different reasons. So you just need to make sure that you check that stat. So for this one, I have Elwyn come in and do a little bit of damage to this Leviathan, just to kind of weaken it up a little bit, so that Sherry can come in, use Lightning, take out the Leviathan, and then swing back in and be able to attack Scylla again without losing a turn, which is really... It is a little important for this fight. So here she is, she's using Lightning, boom, takes out the Leviathan. She's not as strong as I would like her to be, but then again, I'm not using her as a core unit of my team. She's just been helping out for the most part. Hein and Elwyn have been kind of more of a key player, especially for this fight. So she swings back in. She does a normal attack. We make sure to keep prioritizing that because we save that skill for any other enemies. Hein doing what Hein normally does. Massive DPS. Gets a little bit more intelligence. He gets smarter. Every time he fights Scylla, he's like, you know what? I'm figuring this out. It's smarter. Chris goes in for the redemption. We got to make sure that we keep track of Chris's skills. We don't want to rotate out of her skills incorrectly. If you have her without clock, the normal setup is you want to run discipline, redemption, discipline, and then you have a one-turn cooldown of not using any skills. You're going to see how this actually comes into play. I moved the screen a little closer so you guys can see. So it stops shifting all over the place. So here come the ads. I didn't get to move Elwyn because I had again I had again Hein because I had misplaced his movement because I didn't use teleport, which I should have. I don't know why I didn't. And that unfortunately puts me in a little bit of a weird spot here. It's not a problem. This is again level 55. If this was higher, I'm pretty sure I would have bitten the dust for sure. So then we send in Sherry. Sherry goes ahead and issues off a lightning to this person, this sea creature. She gets the wild princess because we had Gale before. She swings back over, and instead I'm going to have her attack the second one. It's a good thing that she was able to throw off. I don't know. She didn't do enough damage on that one. So we did a normal attack. She probably could have killed him if she did her skill, but that was okay. We go ahead and have Hein attack. Make sure you have Hein attack before Chris or Liana. We need Chris or Liana to make sure that Hein stays nice and healthy, and we need him to stay early in the rotation. So for this, I have Chris go ahead and physical, well, one range attack the sea creature, showing him the Thanos snap, and buffing all my allies. Then we have Elwyn come in, and Elwyn doing what Elwyn normally does. Elwyn is actually fantastic for a lot of these fights. This is the only one that I've been able to clear successfully. Here I'm checking the turnarounds. The next round is actually important. It's going to be our buffer round, where we need to make sure that our allies are out of range. Because if they stay in range, we're going to get hit with the AoE, and we don't want to deal with that. So it's very important that we get out of range, so we don't even have to deal with the AoE. So she goes off for the normal physical attack. That's typically the indicator. She will do either Oceanic Horror or she will do a physical strike. I think it's a physical strike first. So here I am moving everybody out of range, trying to make sure that they stay basically away from the AoE.
Please give me a command.
It's not a big deal if she summons the Leviathan, the Guardian Leviathan, and he does the AoE and hits you, because his AoE is actually significantly weaker than your than the AoE coming from Scylla herself. It's when she issues the AoE based off of she issues the AoE and then hits you afterwards with her add-on AoE that really racks up the damage, so we want to avoid that. So that's the reason why we're buffing on this turn. So you just want to keep track of your turns. You want to make sure that your position's well. Overall, not a very difficult fight. It's just you got to keep track of a few things.
Yes.
So here we go with the Oceanic Horror. Again, if I was in range, AoE, you just don't want to deal with that. You're going to lose characters most of the time. Sometimes if you're high enough level, if you got the power, you won't, but I got to be very careful here. So again, I start off with Hein because I want Hein to lead the fight. So he goes in and attacks. Again, it's not a bad idea to have some debuff moves. Like Sherry here has the helm that allows her to lower their defense after her turn end, or their attack after their turn ends. Confusion there. It's not a bad idea because it negates the amount of buffs that she gets from the power-ups. So whenever she receives a debuff, she gets buffed. It's not a bad thing to have that debuff on her because it actually cancels it out and it still makes the fight doable. But beyond that, I really try not to debuff her too much. That's why I removed a lot of element stuff.
Leave it all to me.
Here we got Sunslash keeping Elwyn healthy. Now, my Elwyn is 5 stars, so he has an 80% chance of healing. I still bring
give me a
Sunslash
command.
just to be confident, because anything can make this go wrong, and it's a longer fight. It's just a straight boss fight, but there's add-ons, there's things you gotta make sure that you are concerned about. Level 55, again, is not very difficult, but you want to stay focused. So here we have Liana healing everybody. I was deciding whether or not I wanted to use again, and I decided against it, because I would have again Hind, because he's my highest damage dealer. So we just wait. This add-on gets summoned. He throws up his defense. I check the stats again. You want to make sure. So his defense is the lower stat, so we want to use physical attackers to take him out.
I'm coming.
Again, we're going to run the same setup. I see that Sherry has the ability to either Wild Princess or Gale.
Try our best.
So I set up with Elwyn just to make sure that I can do enough damage to him so that Sherry can get the kill and then move back and attack Scylla.
I'm coming.
Really, it's making sure that you can keep up damage on Scylla. It's nice because she doesn't have any
I'm very strong.
She doesn't have any skills that debuffs you or makes it so that she's going to do more damage to you. You just got to keep your turns in check.
What?
And your spacing too, it's important. So we move Sherry back in. She does a normal attack. Remember, you don't want to be throwing off lightning on Scylla. You're not going to be getting that cooldown reduction. So it's important that you make sure you pay mind to that. Now here I have a situation. Elwyn had to move over to the right to attack that Guardian Leviathan. So it's going to make it interesting. I need to again him. So what I do is I'm trying to decide how I want to move Chris. But I ultimately have a Hind attack with lightning. Still thinking about it. There we go. Good job. Good job, Aegis. So, Hind nukes him from orbit with his lightning spell. Does nice damage. Again, get the debuff on him. Not really that important, but Chris is able to do a little bit more damage because of that.
It's just a little trick.
So she throws off her move, which heals herself, and then it should heal Hind. Yep, because he's usually the one that takes the most damage out of this fight. And then I again Elwyn, so Elwyn can move back into position, and then we can continue the beatdown that we're giving this guy. Girl, I'm sorry. No. What's a sea monster? So there we go. Got the detect, doesn't really do anything, because I don't believe Scylla has any passives. Here we got the second round of the spawns. This is the one where it summons 2. It always summons the second one, and that second one always goes for Liana. So that's why I always have Liana in the top left corner, because it doesn't pull her out of anybody's range, and she's able to still contribute to healing and againing and all that good stuff that we like Liana for.
What?
So I'm looking at the range here, and Sherry's unable to reach that Leviathan. If Liana was close, if she was one space to the left, that Leviathan would actually be in range. So what I do here is I do a clutch kill on the stronger Leviathan, mini Leviathan, and barely get the kill there. It was pretty close. I know I had like 300 points or so, but I was a little worried when it was slowing down. So again, I have Hind proceed with the attack before anyone else so that he can get all the heals because he needs them.
Let's try our
Make sure that we keep skill damage. So usually what I do is I bring lightning and
It's here.
fireball to make sure that he keeps that damage up. Now Chris had, because I started off with a redemption, she was on a 2-round cooldown. She was only able to do 2 moves and then 4, so I had to physically attack this one, which is not a problem. It gets her out of range, which is nice.
Let's try our best.
Elwyn's going to be buffing,
Leave it all to me.
and then I'm able to move Liana out of range. Now I'm looking at the turn count because we need to pay mind to this. This is turn 8. So on the next turn we need to get out of range because turn 10 is the one that the AoE is cast on. It's every 4 turns, and we delay it by not entering combat until the second turn, which is key. When I was first running this, I would go in on turn 1 and it was really bad. I was having a hard time.
Good luck.
So turn 9, here we go. This is where we start moving everybody out of range. It's okay if we get hit by the AoE of the add-on,
What?
but if we're in the
Let's try
range
our
of
best.
Scylla, it's not a very good thing because she's going to throw off Oceanic Horror, she's going to AoE, it's just not a good idea. People are going to die, and you don't want your units to die. You can survive with one loss, but you don't really want to lose more than that. So here we have Oceanic Horror. Again, it does a lot of damage. Defense break, but that's okay. L1's pretty strong. And then we just go right back into it. Hein comes in, does Fireball, massive
Where are you
nuke.
looking at?
Raining fire from above. The damage is there. We're going to move in Sherry. Sherry's going to normal attack again. We don't want to use lightning because that could be used for the add-ons. At this point, we're pretty much in the end zone. We're pretty much going to take her out, so I could have used it, but it doesn't matter because we have done it.
One more shot?
Chris almost takes out Scylla in that last hit. Gets the heal on Elwyn because he took that Oceanic Horror.
Let's try our best.
Removes that debuff, gives him a buff, and then he comes in for the kill.
Too slow.
And that is how you take down Scylla at level 55. So hopefully that was very helpful to you. Hopefully you were able to learn a few tips and tricks. That was 3 SSRs that I used. Liana as the healer, Hein is the SR, Chris is the SR in that group. So you can do it without having to bring a full set of SSR units. Then again, my Hein is really, really well built up. Here he is looking at his stats and stuff. So I think we check out the equipment. Yes, and that's the equipment I have for him. So again, thank you so much for watching. This was a demonstration video on how to take out the level 55 Scylla boss in Eternal Temple. Right now we're just looking at the stats and the equipment just so that you can have an idea of what I used as units and equipment to fell the foe. Hopefully you are able to possibly replicate it or complete this yourself. If not, let me know. I'll see if I can help you. Again, I'm not an expert at this. I thought it was just an easy guide that I can make for one of the Eternal Temples that I was actually able to complete. Level 55, again, is not the most difficult of the bosses. So, again, thank you so much for watching, and I'll catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.